Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. What is a companion video? Well, I'm glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show, we take a little bit of time to take live questions from the audience, but we don't always have time to get around to all the live questions that get sent in. I want to make sure those questions get answered in a video, so I gather up those unused questions, and we address them here on companion videos. So, let's not waste any time. We're getting to the questions that came in today, Wednesday, March the 13th on the show this morning, and there were a bunch of them we didn't get around to, so let's start catching up on those right now. And we're going to get things started here with Andrew Naranjo, who writes, I feel a possible way to undo the snap would be to just kill Thanos. To undo the snap, you must kill the one who snapped, like getting rid of a spell. I don't think so, because remember, in the MCU, it's never been done. It's not like, oh, here's the manual. Like, and that's 18 guys have done a snap over the centuries, and like, in the MCU, that's not the way it's been handled. So it's like, if you shoot somebody with a gun, like let's say you shoot a rabbit with a gun, boom, and you shoot a rabbit and you kill the rabbit. Well, if they kill you, the gunshot doesn't get undone. So I don't think it's going to be anything nearly as simple and tidy and put a little bow on it and just as easy as that. There was nothing of that mentioned before, so I don't think the stones become permanently bonded to whoever's wielding them, right? Because if that was the case, I mean, Ronan would still be alive and he could still have his thing, or you know, Ronan killed people. Well, they didn't come back to life, you know, after using the stone. So I don't know. I really don't think that's the way to do it. And quite frankly, I'll be honest with you, Andrew. I mean, you're thinking outside of the box, and I like that, but I think it would be a very lazy way to try to handle it. And haven't we seen that before a million times? So I'm going to guess no. I'm going to go on a limb, Andrew, and I'm going to guess no. But hey, man, Kevin Feige surprises us all the time. Maybe it's a possibility. Let's wait and see what happens. All right, Mr. Hero 17 writes, check out Doom Patrol. This is DC's Daredevil. I do want to check out Doom Patrol. Now, I never got the DC streaming service because I wasn't going to get it for one original show, being Titans. I always said I was going to wait for Swamp Thing. But I'm hearing good things about Doom Patrol, so I think I'm going to sign up in the next week or two. I think in the next week or two, I'm going to sign up for the DC streaming service and start checking out Doom Patrol because, like I said, I am hearing pretty decent things about it. All right, Mr. Hero follows up with, so Spider-Verse is the superhero movie to beat, and if anyone can beat it, it's Endgame. Estimated final trailer release. Like what? Like you think Spider-Verse is the greatest comic book movie of all time? Like I'm not quite sure. You certainly don't mean box office because Spider-Verse barely broke even at the box office. So do you mean Spider-Verse is a superhero movie to beat as if you think it's the greatest superhero movie of all time? Like if that's what you mean, cool. I mean, I don't think it is. Probably in my top 10, but not my greatest of all time. As far as an estimated release date for the next trailer for Endgame, here's my guess. There are rumors going around that tickets for Avengers Endgame will go on sale on April 2nd. And there's some pretty good reason to believe it. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but it seems credible. If the tickets are going on sale April 2nd, it seems to make a lot of sense to hold off on that final trailer until April 2nd. Because you release this big, huge, dynamic trailer, and then you're able to end it with tickets on sale now and get everybody excited, right? So my guess right now, only a guess, no insider information here, just a guess, but my guess right now is April 2nd is when we're going to get that. All right, Gabriel Reed writes, Frodo died on Mount Doom in sticking to it. Frodo died on Mount Doom in sticking to it. I'm not quite sure what you're getting at, Gabriel. Frodo clearly didn't die on Mount Doom. I don't know what you mean in sticking to it. My apologies, man. Guys, make sure you double check what you're typing when you send it in, because I hate that you send in a question I'm not able to answer. You went through the hassle of sending in a question. I hate not being able to answer, but sorry, Gabriel. I just don't know what it is you're trying to ask, man. Holy Jeepus writes, Kiss Kiss Gangbang, John. Into the Badlands Season 3 just dropped on Netflix. I'm going to be binging that shit this weekend. Captain Marvel Week 2 box office prediction. Well, I believe that the week... Again, when you're looking at a movie that opens as big as Captain Marvel, it's not unusual to see like a 55. Normally what you want to see is a 50 to 55% drop. That's normally what you want to see. What we have found, though, is in a lot of these movies that open big... a lot of people, that means a lot of people who were going to go see it already went to go see it. So a lot of times you see these big opening movies have like a, 55 to 65% drop. That's where I think Captain Marvel is going to be. I think Captain Marvel is going to hover around a 60% drop, which puts it pretty much on par for the course with a lot of the other big major movies. I see no reason why it would take a significantly less drop, nor do I see any reason why it would take a significantly bigger drop. So I'm guessing around a 60% drop. Opened at 50. I don't know. I'm guessing a $60 to $65 million opening, $60 to $65 million second weekend. That's gonna be my guess at this point. We'll see how close or how far off I am pretty soon. Roman Bryant writes, Who was better, Charlie Cox as Daredevil or Stephen Amell as Arrow? Well, look, let's be clear. I like them both very much. Stephen Amell, I thought, grew a lot in the role of Arrow. I think he carried that show. I think Stephen Amell's great. But I'm going to give it to Charlie Cox. And that's casting no shade on Stephen Amell. Stephen Amell's great as Green Arrow. Heck, he carried his show to 8 seasons, and Charlie Cox only got 3. But extenuating circumstances. But I'm going to go with Charlie Cox on that one, despite the fact that I think Stephen Amell is really great as Arrow as well. All right. Ashashe Nagar writes, Saw Captain Marvel yesterday, and man, I was just as marveled, well done, sir, as Wonder Woman. Almost listened to all those politically motivated idiots. Being a white idiot myself, thank God I did it. Keep on the filthy. Well, ultimately, that's the important thing, though, right? Ash, is that you like the movie. That's the important thing. I mean, when we all go to a movie, whatever movie it is, the bottom line is, who cares about the drama that goes on around it? Who cares about, the drama going on behind it? Who cares about the drama going on in front of it? Who cares about the motivations of this? Ultimately, really all it should come down to is, did you like the movie or not? And there are movies that we watch that we don't like, and there are movies that we watch that we like. And it's clearly you had a good time with Captain Marvel. You were marveled, as the case may be. So I'm glad you had a good time, man. I hope you enjoyed it. All right. Nick Kaiser writes, will Disney ever do a cable service? Disney TV? Well, Disney owns a number of networks. I mean, remember, Disney owns ABC, Disney owns ESPN, there's the Disney Channel, there's lots of Disney stuff on cable. But will they do like a full-fledged Disney TV on cable? Nah. Cable's dying. Cable is going the way of Blu-ray. Cable is going to be a thing of the past. 10 years from now, I don't think there's going to be a cable. I think it's going away. Like, everything's been moving towards streaming service. Why do you think Disney spent $71 billion to acquire Fox? It wasn't so they could get X-Men. It was so they could use the assets to really target everything towards their number one priority, which is a streaming service. A la carte streaming is pretty much the way everything's going. And then that will evolve into something else as well. But cable is a dying thing. More and more people every year are becoming cable cutters, which means people are just getting rid of cable. I became a cable cutter like 7 years ago. I haven't had cable in like 7 years. My entire television and viewing experience comes through internet and using my Roku or Apple TV or Chromebox or whatever. But I've basically been using those things to access my television. I use Hulu, I use Netflix, whatever else there is out there. So no, I can't see Disney ever doing that. That seems like a big step backwards. That seems like at this point, Disney investing $10 billion in a Blu-ray manufacturing facility. It's a dying thing, and I don't see any value in that. Anthony Trullo writes, Aladdin, the new version of A Whole New World, sounds like it's going to be something I will be listening to on replay. On the level of Frozen, I don't know about that. I gotta say, like, going back to the Frozen thing, when Disney, it's not normal in promoting a movie to release an entire scene, right? That's not normal operating procedure. It's stuff like that has happened, but it's just not normal. And when Frozen was coming out, there wasn't a lot of buzz about it until they released the entire sequence from the movie of whatever the white-haired iced princess's name is, her singing Let It Go. That was a stroke of genius. That was a marketing move that pushed Frozen to over $1 billion at the box office. That was amazing. And that whole sequence is great. I mean, I myself watched that about 40 times before the movie ever came out. It was fantastic. Now, I don't know if Whole New World from Aladdin is on the same level as that, but if it is, it might be something that Disney may want to consider doing as well. Just release that entire sequence. If you did a good job with that sequence and you feel confident in it, why not release it like you did with Let It Go? Show everybody, capture that nostalgia for everybody, show everybody how great the song is, show off what you do visually in the movie. It might be a really good marketing move. So, I don't know. Let's see if they do it. But that's a really high level, though. That Let It Go song, whether you love or hate Frozen, that Let It Go song was great. And that whole sequence was fantastic. And that's tough to live up to. But if Whole New World can get close to it, why not? Just release that damn thing. Put out the entire 3-minute segment. You did it with Frozen. Do it here. You had great results. Why not? And let's face it. While I know a lot of you did like this newest Aladdin trailer, I wasn't a big fan of the new trailer, but it was the best one they put out yet. Fact is, they turned a lot of people off with the first trailer to showing the kind of Ghibli, Will Smith as Aladdin and all that kind of stuff. He looked a lot better in the second trailer, or in the third trailer, I should say. But they're still, I think, they have ground they need to gain. Something like this as a release strategy, Anthony, I think would be probably pretty smart. Let's see if they do it. All right. Stu Passato writes, I see a cutout of the guy from the John Campea Show behind you. You must be on the payroll. Keep up the good work. Okay, so what Stu is clearly talking about is this. Or where is it? This, right? That right there. Or more specifically, I should point over here. There it is. That's no cutout. That is a industrially produced, big, thick, heavy... I sound like I'm talking about you, big guy. Anyway, a big, thick, heavy sign that is very, very heavy and very solid. It's not a cutout per se. And I used it to hang on the wall of the set when we were in the big studio. I had it made to hang on the wall of the set. And I like it very much. And since, at least for the foreseeable future, until things get straightened out, I'm shooting from the home studio again, I thought, it's a waste just to have this thing sitting in the garage somewhere. So I thought, I might as well bring it up here and put it in a shot or something like that. So that's why it's sitting up here. Anyway, okay, let's get back to it, shall we? Next one up comes to us from Ben Burnside, who writes, I asked a friend if he saw Captain Marvel, and you responded by saying no, because Brie Larson apparently doesn't want a certain group of people to watch it. Yeah, there you go, Ben. I mean, that's the thing. Your buddy clearly just got lied to. And that's one of the big things about these lying smear campaign participants that were propagating this lie that Brie Larson said she doesn't want white people to see her movie. What? She never said that. Did you hear that Brie Larson said she doesn't want men to watch her movie? What? Brie Larson never said that. They just propagated this lie. And a lot of people were really confused when they finally actually saw Brie Larson's actual words. They go, wait a minute. That's not her saying she doesn't want white people or men to see her movie. And they realize they've been lied to by these people that had an agenda, a really kind of sick, stupid agenda to push a lie. And I wouldn't hold it against your friend because, hey, listen, I said it along. If I heard that Brie Larson, the star of a particular movie, said, everything about my particular demographic, Italian-born, Canadian, white, male, blah, blah, and I hate all those things. I don't want anybody who fits in that bubble to come and see my movie. Well, hell, I'd be like, screw you, Brie Larson, if that's what I heard. But that's not what she said. And then cooler heads prevailed. The general masses aren't as stupid as these people wanted to think, because there are these people who wanted to think people are dumb. They wanted to think, let's just lie to everybody and tell them that Brie Larson said things she never actually said. And let's attach meanings to her words that she never actually meant. And people are so dumb, they'll just believe it. And turns out most people are not as dumb as they wanted them to be. Most people are actually pretty smart and rational and figured it out and went to go see Captain Marvel on their own. And then they either liked it or didn't like it based on the movie's merits. And that's what being a film fan's all about. But I wouldn't hold it too much against your buddy, because your buddy might have just heard like a few people parroting the same lie. Maybe he just thought that was true. And so I wouldn't hold it against him. Anyway, Sebastian Trujillo writes, thank you, John, for being the guardian of the spoilers. Oh, yeah, this morning. As a parent, it's hard to rush out to movies immediately. Hope to see Captain Marvel this weekend with my wife. Can't wait. Okay, so, well, first of all, thank you for being so understanding, Sebastian. So, look, when you talk in a live show, like, I think a lot of people don't understand this. Doing a show live every day for an hour and a half, if you were doing it, you would drop a ton of spoilers all the time, probably unintentionally, but you would drop spoilers. I mean, it's what happens. It's what we do. We're talking movies and you're just talking for an hour and a half live, so you can't edit it. And it's not scripted, and you're just in a free-flowing conversation, and you say things sometimes you don't mean to. Robert accidentally this morning, in our free-flowing conversation, accidentally dropped a spoiler. Hey, listen, we've all done it. I've done it. I know John Schnepp used to do it. I mean, we all do it. It happens sometimes when you're doing this, and you do an hour and a half every day. I mean, literally, we're broadcasting live 7, 8, 9 hours a week, depending on all the extra stuff that we do. And things happen. So everybody was really, really understanding of that little slip of Rob. And believe me when I tell you, Rob felt terrible about it. We finished the show and Rob was just like, he felt awful about it. So thank you, Sebastian, for being so understanding, because it does happen. And listen, I wish I could tell you right now, don't worry, that will never happen again. Well, it was never on purpose, so I can't promise mistakes won't happen. Mistakes will happen sometimes, and I'm glad you guys are so understanding about that. But we will try to do better. We will try to do better. All right. Luke Blackwell writes, hey, John, you should really be nice to your neighbors. You never know when you might need to borrow some sugar. Speaking of spoilers, I clearly cannot address or even reference what you were talking about, Luke, because I would be giving something away about some movie, and I can't do that right now, but thank you for the quote anyway. And I do like the quote, by the way, Luke. All right. Next up, Sebastian Trujillo writes, how's Brie Larson's charisma in Captain Marvel? Is she likable, looks so serious, and kind of distressed in the trailers? Can you relate to her as you did with Alita? Well, Alita and her are very, very different characters with a similar tag. They're very different characters, but with a similar tag. Both kind of starting their movie not knowing what their past is. The difference is that Captain Marvel starts, and this is no big spoiler, this is something that just gets established in the movie right away. Carol Danvers is somebody who's been living amongst the Kree for 6 years, and with no knowledge of her past. And as the movie progresses, her personality starts to emerge as she starts to rediscover who she is. With Alita, her personality never changes. Even as she learns more about who she is, her personality just stays the same. There's pros and cons to both approaches. I'll say this. I liked both movies. I like Captain Marvel. I like Alita Battle Angel. I like Captain Marvel, the movie, a little bit more. I think as an overall movie, Captain Marvel is a little bit the better movie. But honestly, I just loved the Alita character. I loved the Alita character. And I very much liked the Carol Danvers character. But that was my main reason for liking Alita Battle Angel, was the character, because that movie drops the ball in some areas, but it's overcome by the fact that I just like this main character so much. So while I prefer the movie Captain Marvel, I think I was more attached to the Alita character. Again, both movies are great. I just happen to prefer one. Both characters are great. I just happen to prefer the other. But that's just kind of, again, you'll have to see the movie for yourself and make your own judgment on that. But that's just kind of how I felt about it. All right. Static Space Sean writes, Alan Tudyk will forever be Steve the Pirate. Arr. I love Steve the Pirate. Oh, hey, honey. Oh, you can close that door if you need to. Anne just got home from work while I'm doing this. Hey, baby. Okay, so Steve the Pirate from Dodgeball. I love Steve the Pirate. I love that. I mean, now look, he's always going to be Wash. I mean, the reality is, to most people, Alan Tudyk will always be Wash from Firefly. I mean, he's just ingrained into a lot of people like that. I will think of him as Van Wayne from Powerless, a show that this lady introduced me to. You are the one who introduced me to Van Wayne and Powerless, are you not?
I am.
We loved that show.
Yeah, I wish it would come back.
I was so bummed when that show ended. It was so, how's your day, baby?
Good.
Oh, love you. That was the best part of my day. Thank you, baby. Okay, anyway. She just got home from work. Where was I? Oh, yes. Van Wayne as Bruce Wayne's incompetent, bumbling cousin. I love him in that too, but I just love Alan. He's fabulous. He actually photobombed a picture of me and Ann once at one of the premieres we were at. I'm not sure. I would pull up the picture and show it to you. I'm not sure where it is right now, but he's great. Anyway, James O'Rourke writes, oh my God, Latveria versus Wakanda. Oh my God, John and Rob. Oh my God, it would be so cool. I was mentioning earlier today on the show, we were talking about the Doctor Doom story, about how Noah Hawley was talking about that he has met with Kevin Feige. They've talked about Doctor Doom, but Kevin Feige can't really address it or anything until the deal between Fox and Disney is closed. He can't really do anything or talk about it. So what I was suggesting was that Doctor Doom is a multifaceted tool in the belt of, because he's the type of character you could take and drop in almost anywhere in the MCU. You don't have to use him with the Fantastic Four. As a matter of fact, I think there's an argument to be made that you might want to distance him from the Fantastic Four a little bit, just because all the failed Fantastic Four movies had Doctor Doom. That's not the Doctor Doom's character's fault, but you might want to just make it feel a little bit different. Doctor Doom is a character in the comics that they've used with a lot of different heroes. They've had some great story runs with Doctor Strange, Black Panther, blah, blah. And I mentioned the Black Panther thing, and a lot of people have been messaging me since saying, oh my God, that would be amazing. It would be amazing. Alex Haina writes, the sequel should be called Edge of Tomorrow, All You Need Is Kill. I'm down with that. Okay, so for those of you who know what he's talking about, of course, the movie Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. Great movie that had one of the worst marketing campaigns in the history of marketing campaigns. The name for a sequel, the original name of the story is called All You Need Is Kill. I thought they should have just kept that as the title instead of Edge of Tomorrow. That sounds like a bad 90s soap opera title. But if you're going to do a sequel, Edge of Tomorrow, All You Need Is Kill. I'm with you, Alex. I like the title. I like that idea. Okay. Apex Caliber writes, Doom versus Avengers Phase 5. Storm marrying T'Challa. I don't know. It's possible. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can go. To me, Doom is more of a one-on-one kind of. I don't see Doom versus Avengers. I don't see that. I see him as a great adversary for Fantastic Four, for Doctor Strange, for Black Panther. You can use him in a lot of different ways, but I don't see him as the big bad guy for an Avengers movie. You know what I'm saying? And Storm marrying T'Challa, I mean, it's something they did in the comic books once. One of the most iconic covers of Black Panther ever. But I don't necessarily think they have to go in that direction for this. I mean, they could, but I don't think they have to force it in just because it's something that happened in the comics once. And by the way, their marriage in the comics actually lasted a very short time. It actually lasted a very short time, but it's something they could investigate if they wanted to. All right. Orly House Soccer writes, do you think MODOK will ever make it in the MCU? Well, there were plans for MODOK to be in the MCU originally. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, the original idea was that MODOK was going to be the main villain. And there was even talk that Peter Dinklage was going to play the character. So that was kind of the idea. Now that eventually evolved, and then they went with Alexander Pierce became the main villain, played by Robert Redford. So there was that idea. Now, remember, Toby Jones plays what's the character's name? Arla, something like that. Whatever Toby Jones's character, the Nazi guy. But anyway, so you remember he was transfused into the computer system, right? In Winter Soldier. There are a lot of people speculated that maybe he survives the missile blast there and that he eventually becomes MODOK. So there's that theory as well. But now I could be wrong about this. Did they not just announce they're going to do a MODOK? Maybe I'm thinking about somebody else. I thought they said they're going to do an animated series, like with the Howard the Duck and everything. Maybe I'm thinking of a different character altogether. But anyway, one way or the other, I'm sure at some point we'll get around to a MODOK in the MCU, maybe in 5 years, maybe longer, but I think it'll eventually happen. Mr. Hero, 17 writes, Doctor Doom should be introduced as a villain in the MCU Fantastic Four, just done right this time. Keep in mind, both Doctor Doom and Fantastic Four got their powers from the same accident. No. maybe you're thinking of the movies where that can happen, and maybe there were iterations. I'm not the world's foremost expert on the comic book history of Doctor Doom, but I know there are many incarnations of the Doctor Doom origin story that has nothing to do with the Fantastic Four accident. Like Doom's, there's this thing out a few years ago called the Books of Doom that kind of went more into his origin again. But anyway, Doom's powers, if you will, stem from his scientific genius and his magical abilities. Hence why in the comics he's done a lot of stuff with Doctor Strange. As a matter of fact, at one point, Doctor Strange even suggested that Doctor Doom could become the new Sorcerer Supreme. But anyway, it's time for another stuff. So in the comic origins, depending on which one you're looking at, that is not true at all. So his origin is not tied to that at all. Now, movies have made it that, but that's not really his true origins. And look, I get the argument that when you think of Doctor Doom, he is the quintessential Fantastic Four foil. I get it. I just think there might be room to go beyond that, since they have all the Fantastic Four movies, which have been all failures, all had Doctor Doom as the primary villain. So why not give the Fantastic Four a bit of a fresh start and not have Doom as the big villain, and instead use Doom in other ways? Because like I said, in the Marvel Comics, they've used Doom as a foil for other heroes as well, not just the Fantastic Four. So, look, there's ways to do it right in the Fantastic Four. I think there are ways to do it right outside of the Fantastic Four as well. I just think they should do it outside of the Fantastic Four, but I'll be thrilled either way. All right. Alexander Kent writes, yesterday's question on possible villains to stop Avengers in Endgame. What about Dormammu and Baron Mordo as antagonists? Well, again, kind of like the same thing with Doctor Doom. I don't see Baron Mordo as a character that requires the entire team of Avengers to take him on. I don't really see that. Plus, Baron Mordo doesn't believe in destroying the world or anything like that. He just thinks sorcerers need to go because he believes they're bad for the balance of the world. Anyway, and the Dormammu situation was settled. That was settled, I believe, in Doctor Strange. That's not going to be an issue anymore. So they're not bad ideas because you're thinking in the right context. I just don't think they're going to go in that direction. Anything's possible. I just don't think they're going to go in that direction. All right. J-Ro, your Ikochia writes, am I the only one that thinks Jafar looks really soft, much like the rest of the movie, and not menacing at all? No, that was one of my, I'm not going to say big criticisms. I'll say one of my concerns. One of my concerns of the Aladdin trailers we've had so far have a lot to do, not a lot, but part of it is Jafar just does not come across as menacing at all. Now look, even in the Aladdin movie, he's not a physically menacing looking guy. He's tall, but he looks like he's 85 pounds soaking wet. I mean, he looked like you could take him out like that. But he sounded menacing. Like, even though it doesn't look like you'd have too much trouble taking him in a fist fight, you just always know you don't want to mess with Jafar. You just don't want to mess with him. And there was this huge menacing factor. I'm not getting that at all from the trailers. Now, granted, in the trailers, we're just getting a very small sample size. So he may come across very differently in the movie itself once the movie actually comes out. But yeah, I agree with you. Gyro, I think he's coming across as a little bit soft right now. Let's see how it plays out in the movie. All right. Gene Kelly writes, Slate just put out a piece on why Captain Marvel took a shot at True Lies. It paints True Lies as a sexist movie that feminists hate. I've never heard of that before. I had no idea this was the thing. I don't believe that's true at all. Kevin Feige has on a couple of occasions mentioned his affection for True Lies as a great 90s action movie. So I don't believe that. I don't believe them taking a shot at the True Lies poster was in any way feminists taking a shot at, I don't take that at all. Kevin Feige loves the movie. I never felt that sitting there watching the movie. I was just excited to see the True Lies poster there in the first place. I've heard nothing about that. I really highly doubt that's accurate. I mean, I haven't seen whatever the piece that Slate put out, and maybe it's well researched, and maybe it's just a good theory, and they piece together their theories. But I highly doubt that anybody from the movie production has said, yes, the reason we did this is to stick it to that movie. I really doubt that's the case. I mean, maybe it is. I don't know for sure. But knowing what an affinity that Kevin Feige has for that movie, I doubt it. But who knows? I don't know everything. All right, Eric Flynn writes, with roles in 2 big franchises, will studios see Karen Gillan as a leading woman for a new franchise? See, that's an interesting question. Because Karen, for those of you wondering, well, first of all, who is that and what big franchises is she in? She's the female lead in the Jumanji movies. And she is Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy in the MCU. Unfortunately, I don't think a lot of people even know that's Karen Gillan playing Nebula. It looks nothing like her. So that's not really a big prop. Also, she's like either the 3rd or the 4th listed star of Jumanji. Clearly, the biggest name in Jumanji is The Rock. After The Rock, it's Kevin Hart. And probably arguably after Kevin Hart, it's Jack Black. And then Karen Gillan, who's great in the movie. I love her in the movie. But she's clearly not the biggest star in that. Let's put it this way. I think being in the MCU probably got her the Jumanji gig. I think being in the MCU and being in Jumanji will get her more gigs. Will they necessarily get her leading status? I don't know. She may get there, but if she does, it's going to be on her own talent that gets it. I don't think it's going to be because of her resume. I think it'll just be from pure great talent, and she finds a role that she's just perfect for, and maybe then that'll be the door that opens for her, because she is really good, and I enjoy her on screen a lot. I don't know if playing those particular roles in these particular movies is going to be the thing that takes her to that next level, though. I think she's going to need some other type of opportunity to do it, or just a studio to recognize how talented she is and take a shot at with her. That's the other thing. All right. DJCD01 writes, so Chris Evans leaving Cap to play Johnny Storm. Wouldn't that be funny? First of all, there are a bunch of people, I've been reading sites lately saying, well, Chris Evans recently confirmed that he's leaving as Captain America. No, he did not. As a matter of fact, there was this a social media post he put up after wrapping Endgame. And he put up the social media post saying, hey, playing Captain America has been a great experience and blah, 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 blah. That some people interpreted, understandably, as like a goodbye message. So just to be clear, though, the next day, Chris Evans got back on social media and say, hey, whoa, everybody, just to be clear, I am neither confirming or denying anything. I'm not saying I'm leaving. I'm not saying I'm not, but I'm not saying anything by that message. That was just me as wrapping the movie, being grateful and being emotional and all like that. I'm not saying anything there. So Chris Evans is not saying, but wouldn't it be funny? Because he started as Johnny Storm, then he went into the MCU, and maybe he could still be in the MCU just as a different character now. Who knows? All right. Apex Caliber writes, Tom Spidey in MCU Fantastic Four film, future movie with Johnny Storm. Well, I mean, I don't know. Look, you could throw out any combination of 2 characters in the MCU, but we don't even know how much longer Tom Holland is going to be Spider-Man in there. We're certainly not going to get a Fantastic Four film any earlier than 2022. I just can't see that happening at all any earlier than that. And how much longer Tom Holland or the Sony deal is even going to be in place. There's just so many variables in there. And by the way, you would have to start with a Fantastic Four movie, and then maybe a few years after that, you can have a Johnny Storm standalone movie, maybe with a Spider-Man, but now you're going way down the road, and any combination's a possibility. I just don't think there's anything there that we can concretely say, oh, yes, this will happen, or no, it's not going to happen at this point. And like I said, right now, we don't even know if the MCU is still going to have Spider-Man in it by that point. So, yeah, let's table that one for now. Let's table that discussion for now. All right. Alan Gonzalez writes, I still say that Professor X is blocking everyone's mind on the planet to not remember the X-Men, but they do exist, just nobody remembers them. That's way too, you're basically giving Charles Xavier the powers of God at that point. Because, okay, for 1 minute, he exerts enough power to control the minds of every human being on the planet all at once, and makes everybody forget about mutants. Okay, what happens the next day? When a teenage kid, their powers manifest in front of their parents. Well, now more people know. So then Charles has to do it again every day. And if he's doing that, if he can control everybody like that, why doesn't he stop people from committing crime? Why doesn't he make anybody who knows how to, build bombs, make everybody on the planet forget how to build bombs? It's far too much, in my opinion, Alan, of a get out of jail free card that doesn't think through the ramifications. Okay, Charles Xavier made everybody forget they're mutants. What happens when some mutant robs a bank and their powers get showed? Oh, make them all forget again. Okay, well, what happens then 5 minutes later when some teenage kid in Wichita, Kansas accidentally manifests their powers in front of their parents? Make everybody forget again. Do the mutants even forget that they're mutants? I mean, it doesn't hold up, Now, maybe Kevin Feige introduces some kind of extension of that, but I just see too many pitfalls with the theory. So you're thinking outside of the box, which is good and what we should always do. I just see too many pitfalls with that particular theory. So I don't see that as being viable or being feasible. Jessica Tennis writes, will Marvel re-release Avengers Infinity War in IMAX before Endgame, trying to get to $700 million domestically? They don't care. By the way, Black Panther was in the top 10 the same weekend when Infinity War came out. Yeah, I remember that. That was huge. To Disney, they're not going to make business decisions on some irrelevant symbolic number. Oh, if only we got 700 million. Well, let's make some business decisions that invests our money and puts our company at risk just so we can get to some irrelevant, representative number that doesn't ultimately mean anything. Are they going to do that? I don't think so. Now, I do believe that they are going to re-release Infinity War with Endgame. I think there's probably going to be select theaters across the country where on opening night of Endgame, you can buy a ticket that'll give you a double feature. First, watch Infinity War at like 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and then the first screening of Endgame at 7, right? I believe they will do that. But their motivation for doing it is not to get to some pointless, irrelevant, symbolic number that bears no meaning on anything. So I think they will re-release it as a double feature with Endgame in select theaters, but it won't be just to get to some arbitrary number. I don't think that's going to be happening. But anyway, thanks for writing that in, Jessica. All right, ZOMG Ruler writes, finally saw Green Book, great movie. It's a fantastic movie. 8 KFC right after. Yeah, just don't throw the bones out on the road. Or Mahershala will make you turn around. Anyway, I love Green Book. I love this movie. My number one movie I wanted out of the films that were nominated, my number one pick was BlacKkKlansman, but my number two pick out of the films that were nominated was Green Book. I was thrilled that it won. Super happy that it won. It's such a marvelous movie, and yeah, I'm so thrilled that it actually won Best Picture. I also would have been equally, if not a little bit more thrilled if BlacKkKlansman did, but I mean, I'll take either of them. They were both magnificent. All right. Dhruv Bardwaj writes, Doctor Doom and Black Panther would be great adversaries. Yes, they would. Wakanda versus Latveria war could be dope. Read Doom War if you want. Or if you haven't. Was that Doom War that I read? Anyway, there's a number of great things that pits Doctor Doom against other adversaries and sometimes working with some of the heroes. Like I said, he's worked with Doctor Strange in the past before, but there's some great stuff with Black Panther as well. That would be great. I would love to see that. And it gives Black Panther a great rival. It gives Black Panther a great adversary. And then when you launch Fantastic Four, you can launch them with one of their other, one of their pantheon of villains, right? So go that way. You don't have to use Doom with Fantastic Four. It does make sense, but I think there's a lot to be said for doing it another way. All right. Psylocke B. Brad writes, hey, John and Rob. Captain Marvel has been breaking box office here in India. It's the largest Marvel opening after Infinity War. Really? I did not know that. India has become a big market for Marvel. Your thoughts? Oh, that's awesome, if it is. And, the box office in India is becoming a bigger and bigger player. I can't remember where it ranks, but it's moved up on, it's becoming one of the bigger markets for movies in the world. Obviously, the number one is the North American market. The number two is China. I can't remember what third or fourth are, but India's big. And, again, I had no idea that it was the next, really, second biggest opening. Now, I bet it's become the third biggest opening, though, after Endgame. But at any rate, that is so cool that India's become a big thing for that. So, awesome, man. I hope you enjoy it. All right. Next up and final question of the day comes to us from Techno Vine, who writes, MacGruber is so funny, especially the celery scene. Look, I'll be honest with you. All my friends love MacGruber. I wasn't all that big on it. And I wanted to, it's totally a type of comedy that I would love. It's totally my kind of comedy. But for whatever reason, it just didn't work for me the way it worked for a lot of other people. And most of my friends adore that movie, just love it. And it's certainly got moments for me, but I just didn't love it as much as most people did, though. I don't know why. Yeah, maybe I have to go back and give it another shot. Maybe I have to watch it. It's been a number of years since I watched it. Maybe I should watch it again at this point. Anyway, that will do it for today, guys. We're now all caught up on all the questions that we got on the show earlier today. Don't forget, the John Campea Show returns tomorrow. Once again, me, Robert Nash, will be here. We hope you will come along for the ride as well. We can't wait to see you then. So until that time, guys, my name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.